It was October or November, maybe. So you can imagine that it was almost night because it was 8 o'clock. So there was all dark in the racetrack of Vallelunga with just a window with the light on and people screaming like monkeys. Yeah, we did it! That's all. And eventually we become third after Call of Duty and Tomb Raider. And we didn't have yet any access to the panel. And then we move ahead of Tomb Raider. And then we move ahead and we get the first top class of the top 10 before Call of Duty, Tomb Raider. So I was just thinking about the color of the Ferrari I was going to get.
Welcome to the One Lap Heroes podcast, discussing car news from the Nürburgring for real track addicts.
Welcome to this thing that is normally a podcast, but is actually a video interview. And there is no Gabriel here, but there is Marco and Aris. True. And you should know who these guys are, but in case you don't know, introduce yourself.
I'm Marco Massarutto, the co-founder of Kuno Simulazioni and the producer of the Assetto Corsa game, franchise, simulator, whatever you like.
These days, franchise,
Yeah.
mobile version, franchise. Assetto Corsa.
Yeah, mobile, yeah.
More
Let's move forward.
I didn't say this. And you?
Well, I'm Aris, Aristoteles Basilakos, and I'm responsible mainly for the physics of the franchise.
But the real...
not Assetto Corsa mobile.
No, this is not.
We have to clarify this. But the real reason Aris is here is because he has an MX-5. And as you know, in this channel, having an MX-5 is like almost the most important thing. And the next car you can have after an MX-5, the next allowed thing, it's kind of 911, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, really?
But we're going
Okay.
to talk about this later. So, guys, just in case someone doesn't know what the Assetto Corsa franchise is, and actually, for me, the most interesting would be your previous steps, because I think these days, like Assetto Corsa is a little bit everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's actually almost impossible that you are involved in sim racing or real racing and you don't know Assetto Corsa. But this didn't happen overnight. You guys have been working on it for a couple of years, so the last years of success will follow. So do you want to give me like the short version?
Well,
Or the long version?
yeah, me and Stefano Casillo, that was my teammate in business for 17 years. We started together to work together on 2005 with a goal to make a commercial version of his first freeware simulator that was called netKar. And eventually we released it on 2006, making any possible mistake that usually young developers do. And we did it. So, but we didn't give up. And eventually, also with the help of some really various talents, like for example Aris, we have been able to grow and to improve, and eventually we started to have some cooperations and partnerships with Abarth before, and then Ferrari. And this gave us the chance to collect a lot of know-how and also that kind of reputation that you need to talk also with other car manufacturers in terms of licensing, and also having the budget and the resources we needed to produce Assetto Corsa. At the start, Assetto Corsa actually was another kind of project, because on 2009 we were approached by Esports, that is like the ADAC in Germany, and they proposed us to make the official video game of the Italian GT Championship. And we started to work on a prototype, because as you can imagine, this was that kind of train you can't miss. Even if it was a really challenging project to us, because we were out of money, out of resources, out of people, out of everything. So, out of Aris, because at the time...
How big was that team? Because I know that this team wasn't very big. How many people you were?
Now we are 30 people. At then we were 5.
Okay.
So, but at that time...
In case you are not familiar, 30 is also not a big team, especially for like a
No, we still are one of the most little team and studios that produce this kind of software. And we started the project, and eventually, after 6 months of development, where we put all the cars all in on the table because it was a all-in project. Eventually, when I contacted the Mugello circuit to go there to make all the surveys and the measures and the pictures we need to reproduce the track, and as you know, the track is owned by Ferrari. So the track director called me and asking me if he could get me in touch with the Ferrari because Ferrari wanted to talk with me. That at the time you can consider that I was leading with Stefano the company, but at the same time, since we were so few people with no resources, actually I was working as a taxi driver in Rome. Then
That's how you learn how to make games.
yeah. So actually, when I got this call from Ferrari, I was in my room. I was already married, but I was working at home in my room with my cat that was just sitting close to me. And the woman in Ferrari that was in the head of the licensing kindly told me that Sport didn't have the license to allow us to use the Ferraris in the game. And eventually we discovered that also Lamborghini, and McLaren, and Aston Martin, and the others, neither them gave the license to Sport because Sport has the rights for TV and magazines, but not for video gaming. So you can imagine that we were out of the money, out of time, out of everything, out of hopes. But we had just two choices. Using the €5 we still had in our bank account to sue the most important motorsport federation in Italy, me and Stefano, good luck, or to use that €5 just to grab some beer, get drunk and forget everything, or just start it again and use our resources and the will and the skill and, how we say in Italia, the cazzimma, just to move forward, and we did it. And eventually, actually, we were in the orbit of Ferrari at the time because at least they recognized that Kuno Simulazioni was a very, very little company, but actually it existed, and it was able to deliver some very valuable racing software and products. So after 2 years later, we developed for Ferrari Virtual Academy. And we restarted by there to create our own GT game that actually was Assetto Corsa. Assetto Corsa was designed for PC only at that time, with the aim to bring a sort of Gran Turismo experience also on PC, because Gran Turismo is an exclusive for the Sony PlayStation. And of course, with the aim to add that simulation value that on a console game was not there at the time. And we did it, and we gave a lot of the importance also to the road cars, not just the racing cars, because at that time in 2012, all or almost all the racing video games on PC were just related to racing cars, so formulas, race cars, Formula One, and so on. And we gave a lot of importance to the road cars because we believed that the petrol heads like us wanted actually the chance not to drive only those kind of cars that they can just dream, but also their own cars. So we worked on the licensing side to have a lot of Lotus, BMW, the Fiat 500, and other cars that also, let me say, a normal person with a normal job can achieve. And we released the tech preview that was a demo of Assetto Corsa basing on the previous experience we made with netKar Pro. So we go on with a public beta testing phase. And we released this demo that was just one car, that was the Lotus Exige at Magione, that is an Italian little circuit. And eventually people went crazy with it. And we understood that we were on the right path. And Aris already joined us at least 3 years or 4 years before the release of Assetto Corsa. And Aris and Stefano worked together on the physics side, Stefano in the programming, and Aris, of course, in putting data, taking care about the car behavior, the handling, and so on, putting the right physics data in order to make it right, and actually was a blast. So.
Before we jump a bit more in Assetto Corsa, because I know that that last steps, that last couple of years, they are actually not last. There's quite a lot of things that happened.
Yeah.
But before we go there, like Aris, what was your involvement with sim racing? Because I actually know you because we have like a common circle of Greek friends that enjoy driving on track, like in real life.
Right.
So how you got involved with the sim stuff,
Well,
and then how you got involved with these guys?
Yeah. Well, the short story is that, as most of the young...
We don't do the short stories, as you notice here. We all speak a lot. So
but you know that my short stories are extremely long, as usual.
They know from me, so well, let's not give them the full
Okay, the
experience.
two Greeks started to talk, so I can
Let's
go
switch
and
in Greek,
goodbye.
so who cares about, what we understand.
So.
All right,
So-
short story is like, I went to Italy to study medicine.
Okay.
And I hated it. And what I loved was computer graphics and cars. So at some point I just, abandoned the studies of medicine. I had tried to enter somehow into the industry of cars and graphics. And if you don't have a background of engineering, it's not that easy. So as I believe with most of the fans, the motorsport fans, that they don't have the resources to go and race or drive high cars, high-end cars and so on, you end up doing simulation, games or simulation software as a gamer. And if you manage, you start doing some small mods or you try to go deeper into it. And I was always very, very fascinated about the mechanics of the cars, the real cars. So I started studying a lot, getting better with setups and so on, while still doing, I was lucky enough to start working into the multimedia back then industry, and I was trying to go towards, giving services to the automotive industry in terms of multimedia. I started working with Stefano in his beta free version with quite good results on the physics of the cars. Then we split for a couple of years, and I was doing some mods for the R-Factor platform. It wasn't even R-Factor back then, it was IZ engine and the GTR platform. And then again, at some point, we met up to do some final touches on the netKar Pro and the Abarth simulator and the Ferrari Virtual Academy. We started working pretty well. We, as Marco said, no money at all, but lots of satisfaction, personal, and most importantly, lots of knowledge starting to pour in and experience, and starting to looking at things from a different perspective, understanding that it's not that what we see is the top that what we can achieve, or the rest of the industry is achieving. We can go even a step further. And from the moment we started to understand that, it becomes something like a drug. You want to do more and more and more. And at some point, we started the adventure with Assetto Corsa. It was really, really hard initially. But as Marco said, the Lotus Elise tech demos really took the whole community sim racing community by storm. And we understood that we had a little gem in our hands, and we kept on going. And we met because, the sim community back in the days was really small, and for a small studio like Kunos was back then, they were really trying to find, all the help they could use. And I was also trying to find someone to, get off my chest all that I wanted to do with the simulation. So that's pretty much it.
Okay. This is very cool. I find this very interesting because in the early days, you would consider like the word simulator like as a bad thing. It was like a nerdy thing. You would think like flight simulator, something boring, and it's not cool. And then games were cool. And then us driving games, I think honestly they got better. That is the truth. Even the average games started to get better. Then I think there is like these finer products that they want to reclaim again the word simulator and use it in a cool way. And of course today, this is the sim community. It doesn't even need to be introduced, because I actually met you guys, I think, through this whole up and down thing. So we went from having to explain to people that, guys, this is not really a game. This is not like what your kid is playing on his PlayStation. And then for the now sim racers and esports to be like a very big thing. And we're gonna come to this like later on because I think that this is something that people are very interested in. But I want to go like back a little bit back to Assetto Corsa because we actually our roads crossed a couple of times.
Yeah.
All of them very interesting.
Yeah.
I think that we should speak like about the first time that our roads crossed, like here at the Nürburgring, while you guys were here. And I think you are right. Giving to people like cars that they could drive is a very important thing. I personally believe that this for sure was one of the things that actually got people hooked on Assetto Corsa. And then the second thing for sure is like going after circuits. And I want to speak because this is how we met, all in a way.
Yeah.
This is how we met for the first time. I want to speak like about acquiring licensing of circuits, both in general, how important this is for the franchise, which I know that it is, and like being here for the first time to actually get the data for the ring and do that.
Yeah.
So I would say I think you take it and then
the
you
guy
jump
for
in.
there.
Yeah.
So well, I've been here for the first time at the Nordschleife, having my very first lap in 2010 during a break while we were at the Nürburgring GP to make the survey for Ferrari Virtual Academy. And eventually we had some time in the afternoon to come here. So me and my colleague Valerio at the time, these are friends of mine. We came to the Nordschleife. We didn't have any clue about where to get the ticket, where to enter. Everybody that comes here for the first time.
Like all of us.
And we were just using the car we rented at the airport. At that time, it was not something
It was kinda
was so bad. Yeah. So and eventually, anyway, we didn't heard anything about the clothes that you can't use the car for that. But anyway, it was just a mini diesel, so it was a really shit car.
So that was your first lap at the ring?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
And we have also a video somewhere still.
I might request a link for this.
But I was really able barely to breathe because I was so emotional about just the fact to be there. And it was just crazy. And actually, we have been overtaken from any kind of possible car, including a Volkswagen Touran or something like that. Eventually, I discovered that there are no normal cars around here, so I didn't offend anymore.
I just was saying to Aris that my MX-5 is stock.
Yes, yeah, sure, yeah, come on.
that explains everything.
Yeah,
And
but I just fallen in love, and I remember I told Valerio, look, Valerio, do you can even wonder how could be amazing to make any of our simulations with the Nordschleife, laser scanned, with our physics, our sounds, graphics, and so on. At the time, it was just a dream that I could never dream. Eventually, when we saw and understood that Assetto Corsa was going to be successful, the Nordschleife was just the first track in our list, as well as Spa-Francorchamps that was already in the game, and the Nordschleife was just there. At the time, the Nürburgring GmbH was having some government issues because of the problems they had, so they really struggled to give us the license as well as to any other company. But I was so keen to get it that eventually at the end we did. And actually we have been the very first studio in the world to have the laser scanned version of the Nordschleife in not just in a proper simulation, but in any game. And so people were really keen to try it. So when we came here, there was I think there was 2014, and we still were in early access, so in the public beta of the game. So the game was not still released in 1.0 version, but we made this bet because we were sure that the game was successful already in terms of sales, and we saw that okay, let's go all in like we like, and we did it. So we came here. And it was a really great experience to us because actually we have been so very well supported by RSR Nürburgring, despite the fact that we were still a very unknown company. At that time we were 12 people, so with not so much money or resources and so on. But I saw that this company really supported us in any possible way, doing even more than we asked, because we just asked some cars in order to having the chance the day where the Nürburgring GmbH gave us the permission for the track for 4 hours in exclusive, just to get in, taking all the pictures and so on. So it was not a matter to drive on the track, but just to move from a place to another. And I remember that you
Walking
actually
24 kilometers. Not
Yeah.
a task, guys.
Right.
Good for you.
yeah.
So you actually
Not by
get an
feet.
accurate version.
So instead to you just tell us, okay, let's go by feet and that's it. You gave us all the logistics that we needed. And the day before, it was just one of the best reminds I have of this place, because actually you gave it to all our team all the cars and equipment we needed, also to have fun on the track. And that's the way how our partnership actually started. And it was really, really nice. Also because you recognize that through Assetto Corsa and our physics model and the accuracy and the care we take to when we reproduce also a car, that having the Nordschleife made in laser scan in a game like Assetto Corsa would become a very powerful tool also for your training of your customers, because it can be very, very important to let them to understand a bit about the track before they move to the real one. So this has been a very good partnership that is still together. So it was so great to have you in Vallelunga, where when we made the official press event. Because maybe not all the people knows that we have been our studio located inside the racetrack of Vallelunga. So our windows was just on the starting grid. It was very noisy but very exciting. And so we had this crazy press event, having more than 30 cars on tracks with also the simulators, 120 journalists that had a chance to drive in the simulator, then move into the cars, and it was just quite a great experience. But I have to say that every time I come here is always like my first time. I mean, I have been at the Monza for the Formula 1 GP, and it was my 3rd or 4th time I went there for the Formula 1 GP. It was quite nice. Also, it was not boring because of Verstappen and Hamilton that had a lot of fun together and blah blah blah. But
You're gonna get a copyright.
I think we can say the name. We can say anybody else.
Are you sure we can say the
No,
name?
actually, I'm not sure.
except having these two guys jumping on the other head, it wasn't. I had the feeling that okay, it's something that I already seen. It's nice, but I can't live without it. Every time I come here, is always the same experience. And even if today I think I had between, I don't know, 20 or 30 laps of the Nordschleife, the very first time I come here every year at every season, my first thought when I come into the gate, I think what the hell I'm doing here? It's so scaring. It's so scaring. Every time I drive a more powerful car, so I never get used to a car that I jump to another.
And the 3rd lap?
No, at the half of the first lap, I'm totally done and just
were the photos I
go.
saw
Yeah,
happen.
yeah, absolutely. So. Yeah, so every year I have a personal goal that I had, and this year was just to have a proper picture with me jumping on the track, because last year it was just an half jump, and I was so disappointed because I saw far less powerful cars than mine that was able to jump far more. So I said, come on, Marco, let's do it. Jump or death.
You guys actually understand what is happening here. So this guy,
I see developers that want to come here and jump their cars. No?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
I need to jump farther and higher.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm almost 50 years old. I can die. Nobody cares. Nobody happens. So I already had my life. I had a lot of satisfactions. So who cares? So let's just jump and that's it.
At this point, it's maybe very cool to discuss about like high and low points in the development, because you know that the game is gonna be a success.
Yeah.
How much you don't know, but you know that there's going to be some commercial success. You're already having a couple of manufacturers behind you. Not all the things that you want to unlock, but you are like strong, and you are starting to acquiring circuits, which, as Marco said, it is a difficult thing. And actually, there are much easier ways around that. So if you just want to make a game, even a realistic one, there are much easier ways around that. You let the community to take care, and they find a way to make their versions. But you did the hard way. So at this point, you have been for sure in a couple of highs and lows. So do you want to tell me like a couple, like maybe the lowest point and the highest point? I want it separately from both of you. So actually,
yeah, because we could have different
points.
points about it. I would say that I had a very nice story that involved both of us. The night we released the early access version of Assetto.
The very night.
The very
Oh
night.
my God.
That's actually.
he says, "Oh my God!"
I think that possibly is one of the most highest points because we're coming from the previous experiences of netKar Pro and Ferrari Virtual Academy that, by a commercial point of view, were not a success at all. So we had this number that actually our core sim racing community looks like that, at least with our products, they were not getting over the 15 to 20,000 people that were possibly interested to a product like Assetto or netKar or Ferrari Virtual Academy. So since this could sound strange, but anybody at Kunos never cared about money. I mean, me and Stefano, we didn't start the company, let's say, okay, let's do some money. Our goal was just to be able, and as well as Aris, to just be able to do the job we loved without the need to do other 3 jobs just to maintain the one we loved. So even if we can do that, if we can get this goal, we are fine. We are fine.
You know what? Sorry to interrupt you. The fact is that we already knew we would never do money.
Right.
So the only way to drive the F cars was to simulate them somehow properly on the proper simulated tracks that we loved. So the money was already out of the question.
Yeah.
So how can we drive those cars
the experience.
on those?
Have the experience.
Have the experience. We have to make them virtual. That's the only way, you know.
Right. So, but at that point, we were working together by 8 years.
Okay.
And
just so people understand a little bit also the time frame.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen overnight.
And no, definitely not. Not for us, at least. And so we were getting a bit older than before, so we need to understand also what we are going to do in our life after that and so on. So we started to discuss the very first time about numbers, about Assetto Corsa, the day before the launch of the beta version of Early Access. So me and Stefano, we said, okay, which is the number that make us at least saying, okay, we need to understand what to do, but at least we didn't lose money again. And the number was 50,000 copies. With which number we could be happy? I mean, a long life of Assetto Corsa, okay. 100,000 to 150 would be crazy, but it's not going to happen maybe, but at least we will be great. So, the day we released the Assetto Corsa, Aris joined us in Vallelunga. So, everything was ready for release, and we gone on the release button, and we released the game. We have the developer panel that includes also the economics about the sales of the game and blah blah blah. And it usually works in real time. So I mean, you have a very short delay between when actually people buy copies and you can see the reports. And for some reason that still today we don't know, we didn't have any clue because the panel was not working. I mean, it just was not.
So
It was just blank.
Your heart sank like that.
No. The point is The point is that we were on the public page on Steam, so that you can see the top sellers.
Okay, of course. So you actually
And we see that eventually, just in half hour, we were in the top 10 of the top selled games.
Talk about Grand Theft Auto,
And
Battlefield.
that week a new Tomb Raider was released. 2 days before Call of Duty was released, and blah blah blah. So there was these 10 games, including Assetto Corsa. Okay,
That is a good sign.
Good sign. And eventually we
By the way,
start.
just in case people don't know, like racing games is quite normally it's
No,
a quite
yeah.
small part of the pie, of the general pie of the game.
Not to mention a simulator.
Let alone one that is like a serious one.
That
because
is not a Need for Speed
exactly,
or
or Grand Theft Auto, which
Yeah,
driving
right.
is just is between the things. It's not like
Yeah,
dead driving.
so-
But it's actually
But
happening.
we start to rise this top 10, and eventually we become third after Call of Duty and Tomb Raider, and we didn't have yet any access to the panel. And then we move ahead of Tomb Raider, and then we move ahead and we get the first top class of the top 10 before Call of Duty, Tomb Raider. So I was just thinking about the color of the Ferrari I was going to get. No, we were just insanely
But it is insane,
happy and crazy.
A small studio in Italy,
Yeah.
12 people or a few more, but like a handful of people.
Yeah. So
By the way, I've been to your offices. It's not like a huge company. It's a fantastic location.
Yeah.
It's next to the track.
Yeah,
it's very
sure,
cool.
sure,
But it's a small studio.
As a
Small
small
studio
studio.
by any means,
it was the 8 o'clock, so actually we had the keys of the office and of
Stay
the
and
racetrack. I mean, not the racetrack, sadly, but at least of the office and the.
Listen,
and
if
the
my game was
yeah.
number one and I had
Right.
the keys of the racetrack, I tell you what is happening that night.
So you can imagine,
But
because
unfortunately, it doesn't end here.
Okay.
it was October or November, maybe. So you can imagine that it was almost night because it was 8 o'clock. So there was all dark in the racetrack of Vallelunga with just a window with the light on and people screaming like monkeys. Yeah, we did it. That's all. So, but there was no way to access the damn panel. So, okay, let's go celebrate, and we go to the pizzeria that actually that opened 2 years before, where we were used to go on Friday evening, and so also the guys working in the pizzeria, they knew about us, about the game. So we were there, we gone there, and we were just me, Aris, Giovanni, and Stefano, I think. And we just get the pizza, we celebrate, and spumante, champagne, and eventually we get back to the Vallelunga racetrack in our studio to see actually if something was happening. And actually the panel was accessible. And we saw that the numbers was not, I don't know, 500,000 copies, but 5,000. 5,000 copies sold.
Reminder, we needed
At least 20, 15.
So we are still behind the
target.
We were like,
the very minimum target to do not commit suicide.
yeah. We were like, why are we third? On the top seven?
Yeah, so we discovered actually that the top sales were related to the absolute number of copies you are selling in that minute, at that moment. So even if we were selling, 10 copies, and the Call of Duty was selling 9 copies in that minute, we were before. But it was not an absolute number.
Absolute number.
Practically, what happens is that all the users of netKar,
They went straight.
they
They
said,
went straight.
okay, let's
Support.
get that. But
Yeah.
that was it. That was it all.
But that is not.
But the point is that we were absolutely upset about that because there was a huge work behind that. And we joined the Gamescom the year before, and we had a huge success in terms of comment, feedback from the community.
feedback was great. I remember
was
it, like, in
just
real life, the
great. We
feedback
had
was-
this queue at the Gamescom from 9 to 7 p.m. With this queue of people that they spent 2 hours just waiting, just to drive for 5 minutes or 7 minutes, and then they get the queue again. So I mean, we didn't understood what was happening. But anyway, okay, let's go home. let's see you in Monday, and let's see. And on Monday, actually, we reached the 15,000 copies. That was actually the numbers we made before with the Ferrari Virtual Academy or netKar Pro and so on. And the point is that it never stopped. So, and it still runs today. It never stopped. And I believe that we have been good in a way that we didn't care about purchasing any Ferrari or anything like this. What we did, we continued to invest in our people, in our team, in our community, and in the licensing staff. I also want to add that at the time that me, Aris, Stefano, Luca, Simone, and all the others were working with us, I have to say that if they didn't accept to believe in what me and Stefano were trying to do, and they also proved it, accepting a very ridiculous, in the negative way, of a salary, because it was a very little money, but it was all the money we could
A
get.
lot of work, also a lot of nights.
But the efforts that Aris made at the time is not minor than the effort he does today, that he get a decent salary and like all the other people. So without all of them, I mean, Stefano or myself would do anything. So this is a really the result of a team that works together like a Formula One team, where everyone is important, from the team director to the guy that drives the truck, make the refueling, maybe make some salads, and so on. So, coming back, these numbers never stopped. And eventually, at today, we have more than 3.5 million people using Assetto Corsa. That if I usually say that if I could get back in time, talking with myself today, look, I'm Mark, I'm you, I'm telling you that it happened. I will not believe to myself. So it's has been just great, and the result is also thanks to the community that believe in us. They have a lot of patience when they saw that the results or that kind of things that we're expecting, they was not coming at the time. But they waited, and in the end they gave even more than they expected, exactly like us. So, in my opinion, that evening was the highest point at Kunos, even if it was followed by a huge disappointment at that time. But I still have in my memory the feeling we had before to know the numbers, because actually we did it, and at the end we did it. So I still have that memory. That is my edge.
It is, actually, it's not very cool.
Just to be very brief on the lowest moment, because I don't like to remember it. Actually, with Assetto Corsa Competizione, we made some mistakes that prevented us to work in an easier way. So we believe that we didn't give for granted that, okay, we are the Kunos, we made Assetto Corsa, we can do anything. The point is that where we were in more than 20 people, we continued to manage the team like we were in 6 or 10, where actually everybody exactly knew what he had to do, because if you are 4 people, you don't need to spend hours or days in meetings.
Actually, everyone knows everything.
I mean, we are 4, you do this, I do this, you do that, and that's it. And in 20 people or in 25 or in 30 like we are now, this is not possible. You need to have some people that are just in the management. And we underestimated the importance to do that. And we had some bad moments, because we had this feeling at that time that everyone in mind had a different version or vision for Competizione that didn't help us to work like one person like before. So we had to move forward on that. We did it at the end. Today, even Assetto Corsa went far out of our expectations in terms of reputation. That is the most important thing to us. The sales, the number of users, and so on. Actually, we needed also that phase in order to do not do again this kind of things. But eventually we had some meetings in the company where the mood was so low, so bad. We were not angry to each other. The fact that the mood was so bad. And if we consider what we did before, actually was a bit frustrating. But we went out of it, so we need also that kind of things.
And I think in the end it came up the full way around because Competizione ended up being his own small success in multiple ways. And I know because it's not like success just related with sales. It has to do also with what it expands about the brand. Yeah. So do you want maybe to speak a little bit to me about Competizione and about the whole esports thing and actually the landscape, because I have a feeling that you guys also have a better idea of what we're gonna see also in the next coming years.
Yeah.
Because I think the esports thing, especially like in motorsport, is completely new.
Yeah.
And it's like ready. It is happening. It's happening now. So do you want to?
So for the future, we need a crystal ball. If you can get it, will be great. So.
Listen, it's clear that your prediction about the sales was very accurate. So.
Well, actually, I'm be good in there. Modesty apart, like Aris said, Aris usually say that I'm the guy that see the numbers.
No, but honestly, let's say like.
But it's just rolling dice like he does with the physics. So let somebody be serious.
We told that on Sim Expo.
On stage, he told that. Yeah.
It's an amazing development effort to make a random generator so that the numbers that get out randomly also works on the cars.
Yeah. 7!
I'm pretty sure you have been accused of this. Like I'm pretty sure there's an angry guy somewhere in the comments of the video screaming, saying it's impossible, this car doesn't handle like this. I've never driven anything like that, so I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about nothing about it, but still I think it's wrong and your numbers are random.
Right. You have to embrace the haters.
Yeah.
Embrace the haters. Give it to me.
Listen, I want to speak. I want to speak about community, about the good and the bad, but I think we do this after.
Yeah.
Look, Competizione. How you blend this? How you blend this with real world motorsport?
Competizione is
how you guys did it, and of course, what do you see?
Well, after the eventually Assetto Corsa went on success, and me and Stefano were driving back, I think from Spa, and we said, okay, what now? Because Assetto Corsa has a long life ahead again. But we are getting old. We need to think about the future, also for the team, in order to do what we do next. And Assetto Corsa 2 was not to us a good idea, because Assetto Corsa 1 was still very successful. It was at the top edge. And it was so good that actually we would need to work for, I don't know, 5 to 6 or 7 years to make an Assetto Corsa 2 better than the first one, because the expectations can be so high. It's like the new Top Gun movie Maverick, that usually we say, okay, it will suck and it will be great, but you can imagine that the expectations after the first Top Gun went to the legend are too high.
And the expectations from the community
are always, can be always be matched at 100%. So the idea was, okay.
Maybe they cannot be matched at all. It's not like physically possible.
Yeah.
What they want to happen. But
and we were also curious to understand, since Assetto Corsa includes any kind of cars, from the Fiat 500 to the latest Ferrari FX6. So you need not to find a compromise, but you can go deeply on details, like you could do if you create or reproduce a race series like the GT World Challenge, with one kind of tires compound, one kind of rules, and so on. And we were curious to see how we can push hard if we get focused on a racing series. And we started to think about which racing series to do. And the Formula 1 was just out of any possible thing, even if we get so close to do it. And at the end, we decided to not do it, because Formula 1 was...
I've heard a disturbance in the first, millions and millions of sim racers crying
I know, but we believed, and we still believe, that making a Formula 1 game would mean that Kunos could just disappear. Because you can't work on a license like that without having some compromises in terms of physics, because the costs are so high that you need to sell it even to the penguins in the North Antarctica. So
20,000 drivers, by the way.
Yeah, and you can find some sim racers also there. No, in this simulator made with ice. Sorry,
20,000 copies wouldn't be enough.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. So we decided that actually the WEC was not so interesting to us, because it's very cool. It includes the Le Mans race weekend, that is just great, and so on. But you have only some kind of cars on very few tracks. People always wants a lot of tracks and so on. And it was a risky business to us. And we found that the Assetto GT World Challenge
You found a risky partner. Someone who's trying to change the game in actual GT racing.
Right. And the Assetto World Challenge would eventually meet our needs to have a game that was as much as complete as possible, because you can have a sprint race with a 30 minutes race, the endurance race to 3 to 6 to 40, 24 hours, and you get the best possible GT cars and racetracks in Europe and in the United States and so on. And we went for it. And SRO was actually looking for a studio that was going to create their official video game, because they told us so many times, Formula One has his game, the WEC, they have their game, MotoGP as well, and we still miss on the field. And when they saw that the guys behind Assetto Corsa were interested to the SRO license, it was just a very good marriage, and we are very happy to do that.
I honestly believe also that the timing was fantastic, because racing, and especially like GT racing, is something that is very fluid, and it changes through the years, And we, as we said, we're a little bit of nerds, like we're race nerds, and we for sure we love champions like BSR, where SRO is coming from, and we you have like these years that you see like GT3 racing could be a thing, then you see GT4 growing, and that could be like a thing, and then I think SRO being so aggressive, trying to expand their portfolio, they sort of almost created that portfolio that could create also a very cool game. So it's sort of like the needs kind of came and timed at the perfect timing as they were growing into this. You guys were going into that, and I think this actually created for them a very interesting championship and a very cool portfolio of championships. And for you, the possibility to actually make a very cool game, because as you said, you also want to give to the guys, to the users out there, like multiple tracks, multiple cars, and cool racing. And I would say that for us, for example, the races like the 24 hours of Spa, it is part of our highlight of our year. Sometimes the racing is cooler than the racing at Le Mans, I can actually say it, because Le Mans by itself, it's cool, it has a history, but the Spa 24 hours is like a thing, It's a very
much
cool
more close to the heart of people, I think, in some way. So
do you guys had a feeling that this also was gonna happen, that SRO was also growing and that would align?
Actually, I could say that the SRO GT Challenge grown also thanks to the Assetto Corsa.
I honestly believe that this for sure brought awareness. It's one of these times that in my head, it's very difficult for me as a spectator, I mean, I don't know your discussions. We haven't to meet like multiple times at the same places, but for me, it almost felt like it happened like at the same time. I cannot really separate it.
Well, actually, it's something that happened to me even at the time of the GTR of Simbin, because at that time I was not so interested as a spectator to the GT series at the time. And thanks to the game, I get addicted also to the real series. So we saw the same pattern also this time. And like you were saying, during the COVID, a lot of people staying at home, they didn't have the chance to go outside. So many of them that maybe they already had in mind, okay, when I will have time, I will get a steering wheel, a race game, and so on, like I did, for example, with the Flight Simulator 2020. I purchased the clutch, the pedals, anything I needed to get it properly, but I needed to be stuck at home to do that. A lot of people.
And then he flies around all over Nürburgring.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Look, guys, look,
He probably does this, no?
Right.
Yeah, he does. He sends me the videos. Look at that, this game is amazing. Look at that,
Yeah.
the Nürburgring.
I don't care anymore
Do
about
know that we have
about
the
sim
latest
racing. I don't care anymore.
Yeah,
Just-
but look, I can fly through
Just
it.
give me a plane.
So
yeah.
fucking cool.
So eventually with the COVID, also the motorsport team and the drivers had to get to the, let me say, compromise to use simulators to get training and so on. And we saw a real change. I think this year we joined the expo, the Sim Expo also this year. And for the first time, I had the feeling that something is really changing in this business, because I saw a lot of racing teams joining the expo to see what is going on. just 3 years ago, when actually we were here during the GT Series race weekend, we were struggling even with the help and the support of SRO to bring the drivers to have the show, driving the simulators and so on. And now they are in the first line in order to get the best possible hardware, the best possible setup. We saw that the way how the racing teams behave, even with us, is like they do with the SRO. I mean, they complain the same way about the BOP and blah blah blah. So we know for sure that we are
taking it seriously.
We are taking it seriously. We are doing it right because they complain exactly like we do. And we had a lot of stories that we can't tell today. Maybe in 20 years.
When we close the cameras, we're going to discuss.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, guys.
But we saw a real changing in this, and also in the approach the drivers have, and also the teams have, because they understand now that the potential of this media to them can be so great. And when they have been forced, just to give you an information that, I mean, to me is just insane. This year, SRO had a new rule, so
Mandatory.
it's mandatory that the drivers needed to join the Esports competition in order to gain some points that will count in the real championship.
Mm-hmm.
And I believed that the teams were just going to retire to the championship or to sue SRO for that.
They hated it. But at the same time,
no, the point was that the 50% of the teams joined it were happy to join it. The 50% that to me was already crazy. But eventually also the other.
they went out.
Once they have been forced to try it, now they are in the first line to get it better and better and better.
I tell you something, this is very interesting for me. I was there, I was there in a couple of rounds, and I find it very funny because I saw a couple of teams being there with their engineers,
Yeah.
like having the drivers, and the drivers do it like seriously, of course. This is almost like a given, especially when there are points in line. But I saw like a couple of teams having the engineers next to the guy,
Yeah.
and having maybe like an extra member of the team there. I saw guys absolutely losing it. Like having a thing and completely leaving, storming the room, going out. I saw guys sweating like they're doing like a real race. I saw the whole thing. As a spectator, I actually found it very interesting, and I think it's very cool that they kind of did it mandatory. I'm pretty sure there was complaining. I'm 100% sure there was complaining, because anyway, if they didn't do it, there was complaining, and if they did it, there was complaining. So complaining is there no matter what. But
They pay them to complain.
I would say the fact that they did it like this, I think it actually pushes them to take it seriously. And the moment the divers take it seriously and they are in a competing mood, they are gonna do it at the way that they do all competition. Because we had this discussion with Adam, and I highly recommend people to go and check that part, because I think it's very interesting. Like, you have like 2 top-level GT drivers discussing about why they drive sims on their free time, not when they're made to drive them. And I think that is like an interesting bit by themselves, And he said it. He said, the moment you give me something competitive and I can compete, I get hooked up, because the drag is not just the driving. The drag is also the competing, And when you give me another arena and I can take it, I will take it,
Yeah.
So going out there and competing with people, and also this changes a little bit the deck, reshuffles the deck, because now you're competing in a different thing, in a more approachable thing.
Yeah.
Because not everyone can afford the race car.
No.
Unfortunately, we are here all trying to. We are actually doing all these different things that you have, because we kind of want race cars as well. But again, and a good controller is something that you can potentially do it. So just to come back to this, like, do you see like esports being like a bigger thing in the next couple of years?
Yeah,
Is
definitely, yes.
something that Assetto Corsa cares about?
Sure, and we already proved it with the Competizione, because we have tools and the broadcasting and some other functionalities that were not included in AC1, and we want to continue to expand this kind of functionalities in order to make it to support this kind of competition that is growing a lot.
Yeah.
And we'll continue to do in the future. Yeah.
Aris,
Yes.
I know that you are the guy that is, for the good and the bad, quite involved with the community.
Yeah.
So you're out there, except the hundreds of hours that you spend playing the game as work.
Yes, exactly.
You are actually
And he's
addicted
paid you to
enough.
play the game for hours. I can understand.
You are crazy
Can you
enough
believe
to
it?
actually do this also on your free time.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder myself, but yeah.
So you can imagine he's a son that come downstairs and Papa, I need you. No,
No, I'm working.
I'm working. I'm working.
Sweating.
Sweating,
It's a
yeah.
hard work.
Is virtual sweating or is it real?
It's real
It's
sweating.
real
We're
sweating.
really endurance races, not like doing that you're flying around.
But I tell you this, I saw David Bittard, I made it what I said before, I saw him finishing the race like completely sweating.
Yeah,
Complete, I mean like a Nürburgring, the last one. Like complete, like I thought he did like a stint, like a real one. Not all of them do it the same way, but I actually found it interesting. And that's from someone that is also very good at it. But so you being involved with the community, how do you see this whole thing? How do you see, and also what is your opinion on the whole esports thing and doing it online competitively?
Well, you know, I've always said, and I truly believe that sim racers are the best motorsport fan. They are the best motorsport fan. They are the most informed. They are the most respectful for what the drivers and the teams are doing, and they're the most knowledgeable also in terms of history and everything. And why is that? Because they're so passionate that they are trying to recreate that virtually somehow. And because they do that, they understand what it takes to finish a 1 hour race or a 24-hour race, actually, in the sim world. And then they can think that, you know what, I don't even feel the G-forces, so, and the heat, I'm still on my comfort of my room, and I'm still sweating like a pig, because I had to drive so hard. So let's just imagine what the driver can feel during a real race. So they have impressive amount of respect for the motorsport, for the sport, for the drivers, for the engineers, for everybody.
Just today, I had this quite good experience because there was a driver, a sim racing driver, that spent tons of hours in the simulators, the Nordschleife. Fanatec, he gave him the chance to drive for the very first time to him a BMW M2 competition on the Nordschleife today, and they asked me to follow him with my car and a camera operator. And honestly, it was his very first lap at the Nordschleife with that car. So I believe that was easy and it was even maybe boring to follow him. And I was really impressed. I mean, there was a guy as passenger calling him the bends, the apexes, the breaking points, whatever, But I know for sure that if I would have the same chance, I don't know, 10 years ago to do the same, I would never be as fast as him.
But now let's connect this with real life, but personal
Finally.
experiences.
Okay.
Personal experiences. So, which car have you guys driven that made an extreme impression in you in real life, thanks to Assetto Corsa? And if Assetto Corsa wasn't there, that experience would never happen. Do you have like one story like this?
Easy.
I can't know that Aris has driven a few cool things, but Marco, take it first and he's gonna.
Okay, well, I had the chance to drive a lot of cars on tracks, and usually they were GT or sport cars, but road cars. And the best experience I had was with the Lamborghini Super Trofeo, thanks to the Lamborghini Squadra Corse. I had this chance to have a proper race test. Racing test at Vallelunga, and I had quite any possible kind of experience because the morning was huge raining, of course. The day before was just crazy sunny, but the first time I had a chance to drive a race car.
It's the Nordschleife cars, don't worry, we know.
Could be worse. Could be raining.
Yeah, it could be raining. But eventually it went dry, a bit less wet and then dry, so I had the chance to drive with the wet tires, and then with the dry, with the standard slick tires on the wettish and dry. Actually it was quite an experience. It was so impressive because of the feeling I immediately got with the car. I mean, just I went out on the pit lane, and I was full on the throttle in the first gear, and I just pushed on the limit. It was just one of the dreams of my life, and I was just kicking the back from the acceleration. It was so huge. the noise was so great, and yeah, I started to drive, and I pushed really hard at the point that I had a couple of spins, but at the end I was there with some of the Lamborghini official test drivers, and in one sector I was the best of the day. So only in that sector, maybe it was the pit lane. I don't know, but
Did you train Assetto Corsa before the?
Yes, a bit. Yes, a bit. A bit a lot. But we didn't have the rain in Assetto Corsa, so
No, don't say this now on camera because this starts.
No, in Assetto Corsa 1 we didn't have the rain, and I didn't expect to have the rain on the track, but it happened. But it was quite a day. It was funny because I at the end of one stint I got back into the pit lane, and the race engineer that I know by years, there was Raffaele Gianmaria, came to me and Marco, while you are not braking, what are you saying? I'm going pushing so hard on the brakes. I'm cool in the brakes. I know what I have to do. So okay, consider that you can press and push until 180 kilos on the brakes. What do you think you are pushing? I don't know. If you are saying me that, maybe it's 130, 65. Hold on, hold my beer. I get back again, and it was at the end. I came back again. It was 90 kilos, and then eventually at the end I was able to brake so hard, and it was 130 more or less. But the experience was quite impressive, and they were impressed as well to see that actually. They say, yeah, we can say that there is clear a connection between the virtual and the real. That was quite an experience. Another one I had was the first time, actually was the only time that we had this kind of support from a manufacturer, because we received from Lotus Cars a Lotus Evora S for 2 weeks to use it in Vallelunga to make comparison between the real model and the virtual one. And I had, it's a dirty job, but must be done. So I had the chance to.
I didn't want to, but someone had to do it.
had to do
To drive a lot the car. And one morning, I was just stopped from the police for a control, just not so far from the autodromo. And they asked me the papers and documents, and they asked me what I was doing, where I was going, and I say, okay. I work in the Vallelunga racetrack. We make racing video games, and Lotus gave me this car to make some comparison between.
And they couldn't believe it.
And the guy just looked at his colleague in the eyes, and I just chosen the wrong job. Just go. Thank you. And I came. So yeah, I had this.
Very cool experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. And I improved my driving style a lot in the last years. And what I really appreciated is the importance to have a coach driver close to you. And the first time was actually with Andrea last year at the Nürburgring. He just came with me with my car, and we had some laps together. So he called me all the bends and the corner, even if I already know the track, I know the track and so on. I just changed completely my driving style, being far faster and driving in a more safe way. So I was pushing the limit even more than before, but getting a much more margin. So it was just a great experience. So this year I was able to apply and remember his tips, and it was a great experience, because I can feel the car even better, because I joined the Porsche Inter Series last year. So we went in a lot of racetracks, and I know and I can feel my car far better than before. But coming here and seeing my improvements, not in terms of lap times, because I don't care, but in the way how I can feel.
Sorry.
We don't care about lap times. This channel officially doesn't condone lap times.
Okay, no, I don't accept. No, I don't accept this. So try to drive a car that is 3 to 4 times more powerful than yours, when you go on the compression and you need to get back home with the cars, and then we can talk again.
There might be some friendly banter going here.
You
I don't
know,
know.
actually, I would like to have one finger of the sensitivity Aris gets on the steering
But
wheel.
sensitivity when my car is on off, nothing is.
Your car,
No, I mean in general, not
your car might be on off, guys. Aris is driving currently for the last couple of years a very cool NB 1.6. However, you have also driven some very cool cars.
Yeah.
Uh,
I've been
thanks to
extremely lucky.
thanks to Assetto Corsa. Do you want to share a couple of things?
Well, yes, I have to say.
Give me a couple of cool things. Maybe cool cars or cool experiences.
Well, you know, the first thing I want to say is that when you are driving many cars and you are really pushing them, then you're starting to have some issues when they just give you a car to try it, test it. And obviously they expect you to not push it. And if you are not pushing the car,
you cannot understand
you
anything.
cannot
so-
understand anything. So that is now a problem because sometimes they give you cars and you're like, yeah, rather not. And that's an issue. I mean, you guys probably understand
We don't drive
that.
other
Yeah.
people's cars exactly for what we just described.
But we had...
Except what Sergio did today, but he's buying it.
Exactly. So we had an
Sergio is
amazing...
buying it. I hope you guys have this. If it's in the video, I hope it's in the video. Continue.
We had an amazing test drive session at Hethel from Lotus, where we drove a couple of prototypes, not even in production. And one never saw the production actually. We drove the Exis V6 back then. It was still a prototype, and we drifted the V6 back then. And practically, I remember that we went into the track. And the guy was like, okay guys, you can do, we trust you now, because before that we drove an Elise and an Evora, and then they gave us the Exis V6, back then it was a prototype, and we
There
saw
was
that you-
not unveiled yet on
Yeah.
public.
Yeah, and we saw you drive very well, so we trust you. Just keep in mind that the car is one single
one of one.
prototype, one of one.
Two.
Yeah, all right, yeah, two, exactly, two of two. And so I get into the car, and I see Marco is like,
What is
he
this
knows
guy
me,
gonna
you know.
do now?
So
No,
I'm-
I totally trust him.
yeah, so
But
I'm-
actually, we were in the Lotus headquarters,
yeah,
so
Lotus
yeah.
headquarters,
And I know
Hethel,
him.
you know,
I know the guy.
two of two, and you have in your hands a V6 Lotus Exis, you know, on their own test track. And after the first lap, you know, the car really talks to you. It's really tactable, and I'm like, can I? You can try. So, yeah, obviously I had the test driver with me. Yeah, you can try, but please, all right. Boom. And then we exit the test drive, and I see Marco again. He's like, oh my god, because all of that was happening before the release of Assetto Corsa
It was
version 1.
2012.
So they still didn't know what you guys are actually doing.
Yeah.
You were doing something cool, but they haven't seen it.
exactly. They had seen something, but not. I mean,
And
we
we
were
did not
nobody.
have any money to
To
repair
fix
the
anything,
car.
clearly.
we just,
So-
You explained this quite good,
Yeah.
quite good graphically.
So big props to Lotus for that.
And then
many
after
other
the-
things.
after the release,
the,
a lot
the-
of-
yeah,
a lot
the
of
famous Aventador drift that nobody else in YouTube had an Aventador drift like that. But this is strange for me too. The most amazing moment was not me driving, was me moving around on the parking lot, the Porsche 917 of Belov. Just moving the car, and
Yeah,
at some point
yeah, at Vallelunga.
I parked the car there, and I was like inside that thing.
Yeah.
And for a moment, for me, I don't know how many seconds, because there were seconds. I'm pretty sure there were seconds, but for me it was like 24 hours of Le Mans, you know.
Yeah.
And I was driving the thing with my eyes closed and looking at the buttons and everything. And at some point, you know, I heard like on the window. And I was like, what the fuck? Who is there? You know, it's like on the airplane that they, you know, they knock
Yeah.
on the door on the airplane while we were flying. And I was, what do you want? I'm driving. And you're like, no, actually, you stop and you have to get out of the car because we had to take it to put it, you know, away. And that for me was something that I believe I would never be able to do, no matter how many money or
Can I tell you
whatever.
something?
Yeah,
As far as the internet
without
goes,
Assetto Corsa.
if you moved a 917, even like 2 meters, you drop it.
Yeah.
Yes, it counts. It
Listen,
counts.
if it's a night and you are drinking with friends and you are telling them stories about life, you know,
Exactly.
Yeah.
you drop
Yeah,
it.
absolutely,
You
absolutely.
drop it.
And we have pictures about that, so we can prove it. Just one thing about the Lotus experience, the track in Hethel. This is something that I'm so sanely envy about Aris, because I think I'm a decent driver when I know the car and the track, or at least one of those. But I'm much more shy when I don't know the track until I get some confidence with the track or with the car. What I saw is that Aris was actually able to drive to the limit, except that was a prototype, we don't care, but a car he didn't drive before, that was actually a right-hand drive. On a track that he didn't never been before, that was also a test track that was no different from the Nordschleife in terms of the space you have between the curb and the wall.
I have actually been to the track. It is very
Yeah.
cool. It has a couple of places that is open, but also it has a couple of places that it has no space because
Yeah.
it's not really a track. It's like made out of
Yeah, right.
connecting roads and whatnot.
And it's so great the way how it's so great the way.
We shouldn't add this if you want to keep the. For you guys, for me, I have said publicly what I feel about Lotus. There's no job coming to me from Lotus.
But we still have to work with the
So
Lotus.
exactly, I will protect the assets of the, of the crew.
Just kidding. So I really envy his ability to have this kind of sensitivity with the car, because he actually understands what is going on in any single moment. And actually Aris is the only guy I really trust at 110% to go to the Nordschleife with any possible car. Because is really great. I would like really to have Alpha is fit, because it's.
I had the microphone, don't push too much.
But it's
Real,
quite good
not
in that.
planned.
Yeah.
No, guys, actually, this sounds fantastic, and actually, it is so cool. For me, at least, it is so cool to see that the people that are developing this, for sure, digital product, they are like you and me, like they are real track guys. That they actually enjoy driving cars. That actually the initial motivation behind making the games was to experience these cars, and now you're making it possible for a couple of million of people to experience these cars visually. Kids like in countries like Greece or Italy or wherever, Brazil, wherever, that normally they would not have access to these cars, they can actually go and do it.
Right.
Guys that they want to compete, and of course they cannot do it. Now they have another venue that they can do it, and I think it is very cool. Can I ask you something? I don't know if you realized it, but you both said like your ultimate like real life driving experience, or at least the one related with Assetto Corsa, was actually both in Lamborghinis. But if money was no object,
Okay.
Right.
money is no object.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean that you have to pick something expensive, but money is no object.
Which
What
car?
would be your? But you have to have like it's one car garage, like a single car.
Okay.
And you have to do everything. So you have to take it to the track, but you also have to do a couple of normal things. Okay.
No,
What is your dream thing?
it's one single car is
two,
too tough.
two.
Two. Okay, two I have the answer.
It's getting
Okay.
harder and harder.
Well, one will be if I can get two. One will be the Alfa Romeo GTR.
Okay.
I mean, I own a GT Junior, and but I will get for a GTR.
Is it done by alcoholics? That's the only thing that I want to know.
Actually, mine has been modified with all the Alphaholics parts, so now it's an interesting car.
Okay,
It's
that is the only one that we accept.
Yeah, and but I will move to a proper GTR.
proper.
Yeah, and this is the first one. The second one, if I don't have children to bring to school and so on, I would like I like so much my 911, but I could move to an Aston Martin Vantage. I would not regret. Actually, I thought to get it, but at the end I didn't, because for some reasons. But it would be a nice choice to me. Yeah,
Okay,
an Aston
okay,
Martin.
okay.
Yeah. No.
Aris, you had a bit of your time to think, so you have to pick.
I mean, I could easily say the answer is always, Miata, but I won't say it because we are.
Well, this is not completely true. I mean, like it is.
The problem is that.
Like, come on, the Tesla.
Yeah, I have no issues with the electric cars, by the way.
Yeah.
I love them. I like them. They have 4 wheels and they can drift around and slide. Fine by me.
So you really know
I
that.
mean, we had all the fans that now hating electric cars clapping on the diesel at Le Mans that was revving up to 4,500 RPM. So give me a break, and you just need tires.
Truths that you don't want to hear.
Exactly.
You out there.
You just need
Completely
tires
true.
and sliding the damn tires. That's all that matters. But anyway, I digress.
You have to pick something.
I have to pick something. I would probably pick your Porsche. Probably.
With the engine or without? Because currently.
Or something, an old RSR.
Something old.
A 70s RSR Porsche would be a really treat to have and learn. Because the problem is that I don't want the car to be better than me. I want to learn to push the car to the very limit if possible, and even a little bit beyond that.
Yeah, I'm totally.
And
Very
being
interesting.
able to say that, you know what, the car does this because I'm good enough
Yeah.
for the car.
Yeah.
You know. Unfortunately, with all the modern cars that I love and like everybody else, but there are so many cars that they are just so much
So
better
capable,
than you.
so capable.
You are trying and you're trying, and the car is like, amateur, try again,
Yeah, right.
So I want something to be able to push to the limits and feel that I'm the one doing this stuff. And this is something that the more you go ahead, and the more difficult it is to.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm mad with Gabi, because he talked bad about his Miata, which is one of the very last cars modern cars that you can still keep pushed to the limit.
First of
because
all,
it's slow.
First of all, you're not the only one that is mad with him about
Yeah.
this. Like, I think there's like an army of haters.
The problem with Gabri is exactly that he's so much better than us, but that he can push to the limits any
I will
car,
tell
and
you,
not
I will
like
tell you
us.
something, and I will tell you
Yeah.
something, and you will appreciate it. Because I think, funnily, we kind of agree. Cars like a GT3, like probably that would be like the easiest answer for
Right.
us. You would say like what would be like the one car to do it all, and probably like a 911 variant, a GT3, a GT3 RS, something like this. If we have to be honest, they are actually much better cars than most of us.
Right.
Like, and when I say most of us, I include the majority of drivers.
Yeah.
If you want to be at the limit at all times,
Talking
It's-
true limit.
to the real limit, it is very difficult, even on track, let alone on any public road,
No.
at
Yeah.
any reasonable
Yeah,
speed.
forget
Because
it.
these cars have so much grip on a public road that
Yeah.
in order to approach this, and we had this discussion very recently about what is actually that gives us this satisfaction, and it's actually approaching the limit in our own precise or non-precise ways, but is approaching that limit. And this is why we sort of try to go back to these experiences, because if you don't spend time, and ideally quite a lot of time close to that limit,
Yeah.
trying to explore it,
Right.
you are not really getting fun out of this. So these super competent cars, if you don't have the right environment, I think they don't really click. And this is also why we come back to these older cars. And it's very interesting because even Gab, the guy that complained about his
Yeah.
Miata, and that he's now driving something different, which I'm not gonna say now what it is, but it's coming like in an upcoming video. He came back to me and he said like, this and that, classic cars, maybe historic racing. This and that. I said, now classic
Back
cars.
to the roots.
Now classic cars. Anyway, guys, this has been fantastic. I kind of want to keep this discussion going for another 3 hours,
Absolutely.
but I'm a little afraid that first of all they are away from the first 15 minutes probably.
Okay.
But there is also people waiting. And anyway, we want to speak about Assetto Corsa too, and we're going to do this of course off camera. So
Sure.
we kind of have to.
I'm sorry, it's too late.
I'm sorry, guys. It's
What a
like, in the
pity.
next one. In the next
Yeah,
one.
the next one.
In the
We can
next
do
one.
it, the next
Yeah.
time.
In the next one. Marco,
Thank you very much.
Aris. I honestly, we could get this rolling for another 2 hours easily,
Yeah,
and it would still be an interesting discussion. Guys, a pleasure. I think we're gonna speak soon or at some point, and you're gonna have an even bigger success to tell me. And I'm certain. No, I'm certain that this will happen. And I'm very happy that our roads crossed, and I'm pretty sure that they're gonna cross again and again and again.
Same for
That's
us.
it, guys. Thank you for watching.